home. But when it turns red, I'm on. Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Coach Whiteman or Dr. Whiteman. You pick. Either one works. Because today it's going to be a little bit more coach. We're going to talk a little bit about, teams and getting prepared as a team. And these days, pandemic is no longer a pandemic. It's kind of an endemic. We still need to be aware of being healthy and what respiratory illnesses will cause for us. But we're kind of out of the pandemic. But the mindset about that is still with us. We got to be aware of what's going on out there in our world and make sure that we are sensitive to it. So that's what our show is kind of about, but let's get into it right away. Let's start off with a little bit of understanding of that it's a Friday, October 28th, a little past 11 a.m. Dealing with a little bit of technology is always a fun thing to do. But our theme for today is about competition. When you compete individually or as a team, the plans you make, the practice you make, and your performance ultimately, does it consider your physical health? Now, too often, the elite athlete or the elite performer in any field, sports or otherwise, doesn't really think about not performing, not participating. They don't think about illness and the physical side of their health as quickly as they do the muscles of the part of that physical side and their movement and speed, agility, and quickness. Well, I want to make sure that we're constantly looking at a plan and a practice that considers our physical health as it relates to illness so that we can perform. Got a couple things to talk about regarding that. We're here at KUHS, as we are every Friday, coming at you with themes about issues that are important to you, but you may not look at it the way we do. And I want to make sure that you take a look at that. We're going to talk a little bit about Movember. We've brought the Movember folks on the show before. We're going to talk a little bit about teams. We're also going to share a little bit about wearing a mask. So today I am dressed to perform, to play, to participate, because I am practiced and ready to go. So as I say that, let's talk a little bit about our mindset moment for this week that drives to our theme. And here's that mindset moment. It comes from one of my mentors. Without trust, we don't truly collaborate. We merely coordinate, or at best, cooperate. It is trust that transforms a group of people into a team. So said Stephen Covey. He and his wisdom has brought a lot of insight to my life, and it still resonates today. It's a timeless, it's almost a standard practice of purposeful intent. But that's Stephen Covey, and that's a bridge towards talking about what am I grateful for. Well, again, right in line with our theme for today, I am grateful for my ability to perform, to get up, to move, to interact with others, and make decisions about that interaction and have resources I can choose to use so that my interactions are really fulfilled, really enriched each time I work with them, so that when I truly collaborate and I am able to be transformative in the interactions I have with individuals or groups, it's because I started off with a healthy, not only mindset, but I started off with a healthy body, that whatever I breathe in and out is going to contribute in a positive way because I'm healthy. If I have a sniffle or a cough, I'm grateful that my mom just hammered it into me. She told me, wash your hands, cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze, making sure that I am aware of myself as I not only protect myself, but because of that awareness, I protect others. So that's my gratitude for today. I hope you're grateful for a lot of things as well. And as I say that, I want to make sure that I I remind you, as well as remind myself, that the month of November is coming up. It will be here next week. And there is the Movember folks. We're going to talk about them and the health issues that men face with prostate cancer, depression, and suicide is a major cause of death with men, in addition to prostate and testicular cancer. Movember is a big awareness center, a resource there. So from November 1st to the 30th, it's going to get hairy, because remember, the icon with Movember is try to grow that facial hair, get on a mustache, or if it's difficult to do that, go buy one. It's Halloween next week, put on a mustache in celebration of those things that Movember stands for. Excuse me. I'm also going to talk a little bit about not politics per se, but voting and the gathering of people to voting centers. For me, I mail my votes in now because I don't need to go find a time to go to the polling center. I know when I was a kid and a young adult, I did that. It was great. You know, pushed the little pin in the voting thing, or if it was in some places I voted, it was a pull the lever to finish my vote. It's more about the people and the process that I want to share with you today and talk to you a little bit about that. I'm going to talk a little bit about wearing a mask, and we're going to talk about teams and the crowds they create, and teams where we really don't want to have to think about the crowds they create. When we talk about the efforts of first responders and our safety in our neighborhoods with our police forces, our armed forces, and the medical professionals that have done such a wonderful job in the last 3 to 5 years in protecting us and giving us some really good signs about how to be aware. So let's start off with Movember. What's it all about, right? It's about men's health. As I mentioned, the health issues that are taking men from us more often than not are prostate cancer and testicular cancer. Don't get a lot of press. Well, prostate maybe more than testicular cancer. But the other one, when you consider the triad of 3 things, it's mental health and actually mental illness, because that's where it gets really dangerous and slippery. You've heard us talk here about making sure that we gather together in our awareness of who we're with. We're looking at, does someone make eye contact? Does someone that I know stay with the crowd, interact with the crowd? And when they interact, they have that eye contact. They want to be part of the group. Now, as I say that, let's be safe. Let's be aware of our distances. For example, if I go to a meeting and I feel a little bit, maybe congested, I have allergies that I have to be aware of, I'll get a little sniffle, a little cough, and if I'm with a group maybe I've never been with before, I'm going to take a mask with me, because I don't know what their mindset is. I'm thinking about myself and them. I know what's going on with me, but I've not had the opportunity to share with them before I get there who I am, what the sniffles are all about, that it's about allergy to pollen and grasses and dust, and that's what's causing my sniffles. It's not infectious. It may be obnoxious to hear somebody sniff a lot, as I get told, because I don't always run quickly to get a Kleenex, a tissue. But it's important for that awareness to be socially aware, not just personally aware. So I take the mask with me on the outside chance that, maybe I didn't pay attention to the sniffle enough. Maybe it was allergy-based, but maybe it's gotten a little bit of a germ, a bacterial, viral component to it. I just want to take care of it, so I'll wear a mask to that meeting. Doesn't mean I don't have to go to the meeting, because believe me, I want to go see people. I want to be connected. Well, part of that connection process is participating in things that are part of our rights as U.S. citizens to do. And one of those, with the mail-in voting opportunity that we have in this country for many states, I'm not going to say every state, because I'm not sure that's really the situation with every state, that mail-in voting is part of their process. But in the state of Colorado and Illinois, before we came to Colorado, mail-in votes were part of the process. So I am proud to display my sticker. I participated. I voted. Now, when I say I participated, I sat at my desk, I filled out my ballot with my black or blue pen, I put it in the envelope the way I was told, I signed the outside, I sealed it, and I either took it to a drop box or I mailed it in. This year, I took it to a drop box. I wanted to make sure that that thing got in there and recognized. And in the state of Colorado, this is so cool. This is such a great example of the quality of this system. I got an email within 36 hours that said your vote was received and counted. And in this case, with the digital version of I voted sticker, there's a link on that email to go get that digital sticker, as well as getting a solid real sticker that comes with the mail-in vote, mail-in ballot that I got. So I participated. Now, I'm going to use this as a point where I can kind of leverage into the rest of the morning show in talking about crowds and being with crowds. Now, I mentioned a minute ago about Movember and wearing a mask, and I'll do that. Now, that's one of the reasons why I don't go to a voting booth, a voting location, simply because I don't know who's going to be there at what time, and I hesitate to say these words because I don't want to make it sound like I'm paranoid. I'm not. I just want to minimize the number of exposures I have to environments that I'm not familiar with. I don't know how they take care of the voting area. Yeah, I'm sure there's hand sanitizer there, and I'm sure all the voting, the poll people that are there are wearing masks because they too don't know. You know, they're seeing people they've never ever met before, and I want to make sure that I understand that environment before I go. So I don't go to polling places mainly now because of the fact we've gone through the pandemic, and it's heightened my awareness to environments and making sure that you're considerate of those environments. Now, as I say that, the people at those polling places are a marvelous group of people. They're volunteer people. And this goes for all of the volunteers all over the country in the teamwork that they demonstrate in delivering solid results because of the systems that the states, I can only speak for Colorado and Illinois. Those are the two states I've most often voted in. And I know from experience, and in Colorado, my experience is more than just casual. I've spoken to polling officials, voting site officials about their methods in developing team, the orientation, the training. It's extremely thorough. The Secretary of States that we've had here, both Democrat and Republican, have been extremely diligent in giving us a system and a process that really protects us and our right to vote because of the convenience, drop boxes, voting locations, the equipment and systems they have that help analyze everything from signatures to the quality of the, you know, I get a little messy perhaps, you know, in filling out my little circle with my black or blue pen. And that teamwork is important, and as well as their consideration for my health and well-being when I go, if I go to those voting places. Now, historically in the last few years, and regretfully in the last few months, we've had teamwork efforts that are brought together because of tragedy. And for those of you watching the show today via a video link, you can see the picture I have up here of a line of people wearing gloves, protective gloves, looking down at the ground. And this is a picture from Chicago when there was that mass shooting during a 4th of July celebration. These people are FBI agents on site walking the roads where bullet shell, well, it's the casings of the shells that were discharged from the building, and they're looking for evidence. It's just it's sad that we have the extreme of teamwork that we have to be aware of, and the tragedies that they are asked to participate in. I would like them to be prepared for tragedy, but have less frequency in visiting a site because a tragedy existed. In the state of Colorado, we've had a number of different incidences that have come up with shootings. We also have had around the country, as of just this week alone, Nancy Pelosi in her house was threatened by an intruder. There's still being the investigation is still going on as to the direct purpose of the intruder being specifically at Nancy. And I'm saying it this way because there's a difference between an intruder whose intent is to rob the house and hurt anybody in the house other than Nancy, because a different set of law enforcement agents are called upon to serve that intent versus if they discover that the intent of the intruder was to specifically harm Nancy and perhaps the harm was to extend to an assassination attempt. They're still determining that. Well, if that's the case, then it's going to be Washington police, the FBI, taking a look seriously at what's going on with that individual that was the intruder. Those are examples of tragedies that teams come together and take action. Now, in today's effort, I'm also talking about health as the teams come together. In the picture we have here of these agents combing the ground to see what's there, they're wearing gloves because of who they touch. They may touch each other. They're not wearing masks at the time. This was back in July of this year, and they're outdoors. And we'll talk a little bit about that particular setup as it relates to your health and being healthy, staying healthy. Because as a team player in the sports world, I want to be healthy. I want to be aware of myself and others in a way that I protect my space and whatever may come through my space to infect me. I hope it doesn't, but there are ways to prevent that. And there's also just standard ways, pandemic to the side, of just doing things that helps you maintain a good, healthy body. A shield, if you will, to the bacteria and viruses that might intrude who you are. So that being said, I want to remind you of these questions, give you some thoughts with these questions. How do you know when your team is ready? And my points today in answering this question is, how do I know my team is ready and healthy? You know, I've been in locker rooms, maybe many of you have been in locker rooms, and you hear, little coughs here and there, sniffles here and there, hacking stuff up, going to the restroom and spitting it out. There are behaviors, and if I offend anybody with my comments, I apologize. But any of you that have been athletes at any level, or even just phys ed class during high school and middle school, whatever, you know that spitting happens. Coughing and coughing up something happens. And then putting it away in a tissue or into a toilet bowl or whatever, there are receptacles for these things, right? So your team and the methods and strategies you ask your team to follow have an important part on whether your team is ready or not. And in fact, if you don't follow some of these strategies, it may literally infect your team and they won't be ready. So you see where I'm going with this? We'll talk a little bit more. Here's another question you consider. Are the processes that you use for your team successful? Will promote success. In this case, the success I'm asking you to consider is health, that you're not ill, you don't become sick, you stay healthy. Now, during the pandemic, for those of us who stayed indoors and sequestered ourselves and really played good 6-foot distancing kind of practices and wore masks, and we didn't get sick a lot. Didn't have a cold, didn't have a flu. Well, guess what? Now that we can get outside, we are exposed to one another, the chances of flu have increased. The severity of the flu has increased because we haven't been in contact with those viruses and bacteria to expose ourselves, to build defenses against that. Well, now we're out and about, which is why the CDC and others, the caretakers of our public health are saying, get vaccinated because we weren't exposed. So our benchmark to our physical health, one of which is getting vaccinated so that you protect yourself. Now, the awareness to this has increased because of where we've just come from through the pandemic. But just think about it before the pandemic. Did you get your kids vaccinated for measles, rubella, flu, blah, 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 blah? We'll go through the list. Yeah, you did, because schools ask you to do it, the sports teams ask you to do it. That was part of the process. We didn't grouse about that, but for some reason, we're getting all up in somebody's face about COVID and flu vaccines, and we're getting all nervous and twisted up about it. But before that, we didn't. Why? Why is that? Well, maybe our teams weren't activated and sensitive to what we do, the benchmarking. And let me give you examples of some teams. You've got communities that are teams. You've got mom groups. You've got PTO groups. Sorry, PTA groups. I got PTO in my head because Henry gave that PTO thing to me before the show. So PTA, Parent-Teacher Associations. Those are teams. We should be aware of what we need to do with our kids, making sure we remind them, like my mom did. Wash your hands, cover your mouth. Don't eat with your mouth full. You're going to spew stuff into the air. So that we are benchmarking our behavior in protection of our physical health. And share that information with our teams. That's where I was going with this. And there's a lot of great things out there. I gave you some examples of what's on my mental mind list, my mindfulness. I'm aware of Movember this month, for November. I'm aware of the fact that I'm pretty safe, me personally, but for those of you who are going out to the polling places, boom, pull it down, go vote. But maybe wear a mask, especially if you may have the sniffles. Why share that with somebody else? And then we have the extremes on teams that are out there every single day, protecting us, keeping us safe, saving us from the injuries we might incur by being out and about in the world. And then we've got, in my world, we've got sports teams and gatherings of businesses and business people. So there is the possibility when we gather. Now, I've got a picture up here of a group on a deck, a wonderful scenery of a Florida horizon of the ocean, of the Atlantic Ocean. So airborne product that may come out of my mouth, or I might sneeze and not totally cover it up, will have less likely infection or getting in the space of somebody else if I'm outdoors. But notice that the spacing of the people on this deck is fairly wide open. And I'll show you a diagram in a minute about, when something comes out of your mouth, depending on how heavy or light it is, or how much force it has behind it, it will drop at certain distances. Being mindful of that as it relates to airborne. But know that they're airborne, there's stuff floating in the air all the time. Wind blows, stuff blows around, there's dust. The dust was in a place where it got infected with something. We are susceptible. This is not new. This is stuff we've known for years. And some of you may not have known it as specifically or scientifically as what I'm saying, but you knew about it. You were raised with parents or influences from the community that talked to you about cover your mouth, wash your hands, watch how close you get to people, stay out of my space. Now, with that being said, the next thing to think about is contact. Because you transmit things by touch. Transmit love, transmit affection. Yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what's on your skin. Did you wash your hands? Did you touch something that you're not sure what was on there and then touch your face? Are you thinking about those connections of transmission? Especially now, I'm a grandfather. I want to touch my grandkids. I'm a coach. I'm going to be hanging out with the athletes. And I tell you what, the smells that come out of those locker rooms, and even on the sidelines during games, it's nasty. It makes me wonder. But I've been around it for so long, I may have taken advantage of it and just not considered it in the way I'm asking you to consider it today. Because a team's execution is directly related to its physical health. And not just the muscle strength or how quick you are or how agile you are. It's about first cellular, at the cellular level. So be aware of who you're touching and what you might be transmitting to them. And think about, am I supporting? Wash your hands, my space. You sound like you got the sniffles. Yeah, you're my grandson, but back up. I don't need that mess. And vice versa. Everybody being aware of everybody else, because I now have a little bit more scientific diagram about the distance protects you from people. The larger the droplets that might come out of your body that you spew, I have some colleagues that, man, when they talk and they get excited, stuff starts coming out of their mouth. And that could be very heavy. Those larger droplets are going to fall closer to you. So you might want to calm yourself down when people get close to you. If you're known to be one of these spritzers when you speak. And then there's more airborne and distance-oriented smaller droplets that can, and if the wind is blowing, like coaching staffs, for example, they're walking up and down the sidelines and they're talking. Well, if they're outdoors, soccer, football, track and field, whatever it might be, the wind blows and whatever you're spritzing out there, if it's a small droplet, could get carried in the air and take off. So I'm asking you to consider, if you know you've got a little bit of a cold perhaps, or the beginnings of a cold, something that feels upper respiratory, a little bit tight, wear a mask. I'm not saying you're not capable of participating at that moment because you feel okay, but you might have the beginnings of something that could infect somebody else a bit more seriously, and that will influence your team. So coaches at halftime, when you're walking in and out and up and down the aisles in the locker room, be aware of what's going on with your body. You have a team you want to field. Wouldn't you feel kind of bad if you're the source of the virus or the bacteria that infects your team and takes out your quarterback or a wide receiver or a linebacker or D end? I mean, you might want to just pay attention to that. And I know, look, I've been in so many locker rooms, especially in visiting locker rooms, that are just bad. They're small, they're tight. We get gear on top of gear and people on top of people. The awareness of teams and the teamwork they apply to being healthy matters. So we have that 6-foot rule from the pandemic. Use it, but be aware that you need to use it. Nobody's forcing you to use it. Nobody's forcing you to wear a mask. Nobody's even asking you to wear a mask. I am today, not because you need to, but because you need to be aware and just be a citizen of good intentions and socially conscious of the things that help people be their best. And that includes you and the respect that you share with humanity, not just people you know, people you don't know. Because when you do that, you protect others. Your behavior has an impact on people around you. And your team, whoever that team might be, could be just your family at home as your team. Could be your team that you coach. Could be the team that you're a player on. Your team will benefit when you participate in these things that relate to your and others' physical health and well-being. It's important. It's important stuff. And because of that, I'm going to do an important thing that I'll talk to you about in just a second, and I'm going to hydrate. Hydration is important. And it's also important to hydrate carefully in a studio where there's a lot of electronic gear. Being attentive to what's going on. So here's what Winston Churchill has to say about what I just said to you. Healthy citizens are the greatest asset any country can have. Now, I'm going to take my glasses off for an emphasis here. And then I'm going to rub my face. As much as you might think, why is he rubbing his face? Because I washed my hands. I don't have to worry about it. And Henry cleans the studio like nobody's business. But here's the serious part. If you believe in and understand Winston Churchill's quotes, and at the same time you understand it, you remind yourself that you were one of those people that were grousing about, I got to stay home and 6 feet away, and how come I have to wear a mask? What about my independence? And, my freedom? Yada, yammer, 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 yammer. You're not really seriously understanding Winston Churchill's quote. Healthy citizens are the greatest assets any country can have. Be responsible for yourself first, as I've said constantly on this show. And with that, taking care of yourself first, start with being healthy. That you do what my mom told me. Cover your mouth when you cough. Wash your hands every time you have to go to the bathroom. And wash your hands anytime you've touched something you're not familiar with. You don't know where that's been. I don't know what this is. I do with Henry here in the studio. But take responsibility. Be a trusted adult, an adult that everybody can rely on to do the right thing. And when I say right thing, it's right thing down at the ground level. This is organic right things. Because germs are germs. They don't discern between you or me. And I would like to know that everybody around me, in the crowds I choose to participate in, are doing the right thing. They wash their hands. They cover their mouth when they cough. They don't, if they have the sniffles or a little chest cold kind of thing going on, they wear a mask when they go to the football game or the basketball game. I don't have a problem with that. That's not me taking your freedoms away from you or your independence away from you. That's you being responsible as a citizen of this world and helping out. Then you'd understand Winston Churchill's quote. But can you get this point too? Winston Churchill, he's no longer here. This was many, many years ago. It still applies today. That's why it's organic. That's why it's generic to everybody. Don't bitch about that stuff. I'm off my soapbox. And I'm also at a great point in getting that excited and energized to say to you, it's important in my health, my physical health, my cellular health, to take moments to reflect in a way that I think about what's good about today. As I shared with you my gratitude earlier, I came to studio after I had done some weightlifting this morning and yoga. And on the midday extension of Good Morning America, the doc on the show, she referenced this, that it's important to include resistance work in your pursuit of health, especially as you get older. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. But, lift up a barbell, lift up a can of soup, I don't care, whatever the resistance is, a band. People like the band stuff. Or just simply your body weight as the force to resist. In doing some squats, doing some planks or sit-ups or push-ups, whatever the case may be. Reflect on what is in your world to help you be the best you can be, so that you can appreciate and take a moment to relax and reflect in your mind and get that centering of yourself, so that it doesn't become a struggle with our cultures, our teams, our humanity about what is the right thing to do in maintaining good health and supporting others' pursuit of their good health. The Coney Inn is a great resource for me to share a reflective moment and just take a breath in through the nose, out through the mouth, and share with each other what's important. Sometimes the sharing doesn't require a lot of contact. It's just you representing through your actions behaviors that are easily understood by others, that you are supportive and conscious of the necessary behaviors that are healthy for everybody, and that you do what's necessary to participate in protecting not only yourself, but protecting others as well through your behaviors. Things that you can control. Stay in the moment. As I tell every individual of high performance in their teams, stay in the moment. Do what you can do in that moment and everything you can control. That's a huge amount of awareness. And we're talking about different slices of that awareness here today about our health, being mindful about our health and well-being, and sharing that. Well, here's some things to think about. Here's some things to help you fight the dis-ease. And you put it together, it's disease, okay? So that's where it goes. Fight the discomfort, the disillusionment, the disappointment. Fight it all and make it easy. Fight the dis-ease. Be mindful of that. Here's one of those things you can do. It has been said, not everybody can do this very well, and I used to be one of those people. Resting 7 hours or more, and I say resting versus sleep because there are some debate about sleep versus rest. Now, I tend to try to get in, I try to get in 6+ hours every single day. But depending on when I go to bed, I have a certain time I get up every morning, and so going to bed later will dip into my 7-hour goal. But 7 hours plus is a goal. That's pretty much anybody who's very, very active. So elite athletes, elite performers in any field or profession, you need to really hunker down and grab a hold of this goal and see what's in your way of achieving it so that you can get at least 7, but I would say at least 7 and more sleep every day. When you're burning 3,000 plus calories a day, you're very active both with your muscles, your mind, when they're both connected. For me, that's typically elite athletes, executives as well. I have many of them are both. They're very athletic as well as they're thinking all the time. So when you pull down that many calories of nutrients, that's a good indication you need the rest. You need oxygen, hydration, and rest to burn the energy. The next thing, oh, look, I just said it, hydration. Use a different word, but hydration. Drinking fluids. Hydrate yourself. Water is the best, but in some cases you might need a few minerals, extra mineral jolt, some salts in there as well. So there's everything from Powerade, Gatorade, Pedialyte, and so on and so on. Hydrate, 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 hydrate. At least a liter, that's 1,000 milliliters of water. This bottle right here is 750 milliliters. Thank you, the Holman Group. I love this water bottle of mine. It's in a metal bottle. It's reusable. Please don't use plastic. Or if you do, it's reusable. But even then, you're going to get things that leach into your water. Good metal bottle is great as a reusable. There are some very dense plastics that silicone-based is also good. You get less leaching of anything through that into the water or fluids you drink. But hydration, at least a liter. Great hydration moment again. Loving it. Hydration is one of those a second thing to fight the dis-ease. Here's one for you. And I had a great thing this morning in yoga class. Movement, it causes things in your body, fluids and substances in your body, to go to the joints to help lubricate. Movement lubricates. In addition to the cardio aspect of things, getting the blood flow going and helping the heart pump and feel good about yourself. Listen, at what I've done over my years of being on this planet, I've got my share of aches and pains. And movement sometimes is a challenge because you think, oh my God, if I move, it'll just make me feel worse. No. Movement lubricates joints and body parts to help you alleviate the discomfort. Now notice I'm saying the word discomfort and not pain, because one of my other mentors, Deepak Chopra, said, and he's a medical doctor, as well as being a great wisdom in our world. He said that our body and our brain is not built to really naturally, organically understand pain. There are no real pain receptors in our body. We have nerves that respond differently to certain movements or certain chemicals that might influence them. And that causes our brain to sense something that we've given a word to it, pain. I use discomfort because it tells me that I have this feeling in certain parts of my body that are causing me to think about behaviors that are not comfortable. I have discomfort. And so for others, it might be considered the word pain for that. Well, I'm telling you here today, move. Like right now, my hands are a little sore. Did a few planks this morning in yoga, so my wrist and my hands are sore. And they're sore, and I'm uncomfortable with that because of the history of what I've done. I've put my hands through a lot of discomfort. As a baseball catcher and a point guard in basketball, my hands were my craft, but also the things that got hammered and literally hammered first. So movement in my hands, my wrist is key, and I'll breathe through it. I'll use breathing techniques to breathe through it. So movement will fight the disease. And resistance, I mentioned it earlier, not just movement for the sake of movement, but purposeful movement with resistance. Like I've told you that I've been in the studio with my big sling on with my shoulder, and I've had knee surgery as well. When I move it, I have less discomfort because I'm bringing fluids there, lubricants there to help soothe that discomfort with that resistance. The resistance focuses the attention to that body part. So for example, this morning I did my lifts with my weights, so I could accent the shoulder, which is what that particular weight and body posture movement does to create resistance in that area. So I bring a lubricant there to help me feel better. Yes, fight the disease. Fight it, fight it. Here, and you might find this funny, but laughter is also fight disease. Mainly because on the scientific side, laughter creates a chemical response. And there are some people that I know that study humor, laughter, happiness, and all the above, and force themselves, I shouldn't say force necessarily, I mean some people may feel like they're forcing themselves, but they purposefully laugh at scheduled times of the day. And just, and mainly it's opening the mouth, bringing that air through in that way, enhances the chemical response. Now then there's the genuine ones, the legit laughters, the belly laugh, the laughing so hard you cry because something is funny, that it really connects with your brain, references something of your past, and brings it forward. If you can do that in a scheduled way, think back in your past and find something funny and laugh on those purposeful moments, you will get a chemical fix that is helpful to your body, that will not only help with, as the resistance does, bringing lubricants to the specific area you're giving resistance to, but with laughter, it's the entire body. It's brain-body connection. It's really helping you. And there's a cardio impact here, the breathing. Hopefully, I have people I know who laugh and they hold their breath. It's that silent laugh. Those are kind of funny. But laughter fights the dis-ease. And then this is also something we talk about routinely here at 360 Performance on a Friday. We talk about awareness. And I suppose this particular construct, this mindfulness of awareness in fighting dis-ease could wrap all of the other 5 before it together. Because it's being aware of your sleeping habits and getting that 7 hours plus. It's being aware of when you need the hydration. And also being aware in advance to having the need for the hydration. I'm going to a place where it's going to be very hot. I better amp up my number of containers, have more volume with me. Now, when you're in a team, a sports team, at any level, typically you've got a big cooler. For years it's been the big orange cooler from Gatorade, right? And they have it there for you. You can get that hydration at any time you need it. But it's the awareness that it's there, awareness that you have your own water bottle so that you don't get infected with somebody else's their pushback. I hate that washback when you share bottles with people. Now if it's family members, it's different. It's going to continue to happen. But being aware of what goes into the hydration process so you can constantly consider being healthy. Same thing with movement. My awareness of my movement, my awareness of my space I'm in, and who's in that space with me. So if it's a crowd, maintain the 6 feet so that you can be aware of that health and the benefits you'll get by staying 6 feet away. It's also being aware that, do I have the sniffles so that if I'm close to somebody that I'm going to put a mask on and make sure that my movement and what comes with my movement, which could be a sniffle or a cough, is not going to infect someone else. So awareness is important as a concept, but it needs to be specifically looked at in regards to your behavior. Who are you? Who do you interact with? And when I am aware of those things, I can then be more specific about what I do, the actions I take through that awareness. And I think that's the focal point for this awareness on fight disease, is the actions I take when I consider all the different people and things that I interact with and are mindful about. Do a hydration to that. Salute. And just for the people whose minds wander, when I said salute, it is water, because salute tends to be used in situations when it's not water, or chin chin. There you go. So, fight the disease. Be aware of what is necessary, so that, as this wonderful Irish proverb says, a good laugh and a long sleep are the best cures in the doctor's book. So if, in fact, you get to a place where you're feeling more than just sniffles and a little cough, you're kind of, man, I'm achy, I gotta lay down, I gotta take a break. A long sleep, get the rest, but find those moments to laugh. And I'm reminded with this Irish proverb of, I've been watching Dancing with the Stars, and Wayne Brady is one of the stars dancing. And I've followed Wayne Brady for years as a comedian and all the things he does. And he's doing a daytime game show that he does every week. And he got on Dances with the Stars. And he's just, he's literally, figuratively kicking it. He is on fire with the skill of his ability to dance. And yet, he wore himself out. Didn't follow the proverb, probably. No long sleeps, because he wore his ass out and was laid out for 2 days. Got tested to see if he had COVID. No COVID. His doctor just said, you're just exhausted. You need to take a moment. You need to get some good laughs and get definitely a long sleep. And he came back, and here's what's really interesting to me. The teamwork he had with his dancing partner and the crews and stuff behind the scenes that support. He came in on a Friday after he was ill, and he has to dance that Monday. So he has Friday, and he came in late Friday afternoon. So part of Friday, all of Saturday, all of Sunday, and maybe a little bit of Monday as they kind of warm up and work out the bugs, whatever it was. Well, he had more bugs than he wanted to have to deal with. And yet, when he got on the dance floor, to the unprofessional judging eye, he did wonderfully. Now, he didn't score like he typically does. He's already had a perfect score. And I don't want to draw on too hard on Wayne Brady, but it's such a great example about the health consideration, the physical awareness you need to have about your body at a cellular level, and then generate the behaviors that represent that consideration. Like, I wash my hands. I cover my mouth when I cough. If I'm in a group and I hear a lot of other coughs going on and people that aren't wearing masks, I'm putting on a mask because I want to be healthy. I have other purposeful things that I intend to do that require me to be all there and to be fully present. Whether it's with a team or you're by yourself, because taking care of you will be an example to others and strengthen the physical health of your community. That's what's necessary. And what really just boggles my mind is when people resist these obvious, very foundational issues about health. They fight it. And they use things as ridiculous as, you're taking away my freedoms. Nope, not really, because no matter what I do or what I say, if I'm in a position of power, is going to change the fact that if you get close to somebody and they got a bug in them, some garbage in their system, you could get it. Look at the state of South Dakota. Look at the state of Florida and any other states in the country that thought that their strategy on maintaining their position of trust required that they fought the realities of life, of living. Well, they failed. They were less likely to perform at their highest level. That's what I want. That's what this show is about. Performance issues. It's not about politics. It's not about my way or the highway or somebody else's way versus my way of doing things. These are just basic things that we've lived with for hundreds and hundreds of years. And yet we still don't seem to get it. We still don't seem to raise up our bar of performance with the foundational basics of living life so that we can finish. Look at people, I want to finish. I want to go out kicking and screaming at my best. Not halfway, not partially. And for me to do that, I've got to be aware of what it takes to excel internally as well as externally. And it's my internal focus that brings me my awareness to what happens out and around me. For me to be able to be physically strong enough to finish, emotionally strong enough to finish, and then cellularly strong enough to finish because I didn't let it get me. I didn't let myself get the flu. I got vaccinated. I didn't let myself get COVID. I got vaccinated, and I keep up with it because science tells me that's what needs to happen. And also, I'm driven. My motivation is because I want to be present. I want to be around and do the things I have committed to do. Makes sense to me, may not make sense to you. I ask you to consider it, not necessarily feel that you have to comply. I am a resource of performance excellence based on experience. And people giving me some strange looks when I ask them to do things, and all of a sudden it creates the results that they desired and beyond. But at the same time, I'm listening. I'm listening to you because I want you to listen to me. On our podcast, we're going to do the podcast. Today's show is going to be posted over the weekend on Spotify and other platforms that we love for you to try out and listen to what goes on here at 360 Performance. Every Friday at 11 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time, I'm stoked for the rest of this year. I'm stoked for us to, as individuals, as teams, as a country, to really finish strong, moving through conversations that are difficult to have, and sharing that resolution with each other that we came together as a team because we got involved. And we didn't always agree, but we sought to find the pathway of least resistance with highest level of performance so that we could get the outcomes that we prescribe for each other. I'm pumped, mainly because today was a great day. I had a great workout this morning. Everything is healing well. My leg is healing well. Still got some work to do on my shoulder and strength, but I got to get involved. And on the days, and look at it, I've got days where I wake up and I go, whoa, it's 5 o'clock. Do I really want to do this? Do I really want to go swimming? Now, Saturday's a break, because Saturday morning pool is not open until 6:30, so I get a little bit of a break. But I still get up, still get involved, and go do what I need to do. Move those fluids around so that they are lotion with my motion to help me feel good about my body. And yet, I'm going to be totally honest, not every day is the same. There's different degrees of discomfort. But I'm making plans, I'm taking actions to get things in alignment so I can deliver my best to you. The most I can do is give that to you. The least I can do is say, I'll try better next time. I'm always there to position myself in a way that helps myself first so that I can be my best for you. And I hope that resonates with all of you out there, especially if you're high-performance individuals of any nature, whether it's casual amateur work or you're a professional athlete or entertainer, that you are taking what we say here in a way that is motivating primarily and maybe specific to something that will help you be even better at delivering results that you want. And that you listen to what we have to say here in a way that is not sounding like I'm telling you to do something. I'm asking you to consider. I'm asking you to consider what you need for you. Now, one of those things I'm going to ask you to consider in the ending of today's show is Halloween is this week. I think it's like going to be a 4-day holiday starting this week and going into next week. But that being said, whatever way you're going to celebrate Halloween, celebrate it with some great things that are out there. Hocus Pocus, the new movie Hocus Pocus came out. I like the old one. The old one has some gravitas and some grit to it that I just really like. I'm grateful that the production group brought back the 3 wonderful actresses that showcased the witches. They did once again. They did a fantastic job in Hocus Pocus 2. But go see movies. Take a walk with your kids, whether it's going to get candy or not. Enjoy these fall holiday colors and scenes. Halloween's one of my favorite holidays, not because of the candy. It's more than that. It's All Hallows Eve. I don't like scary movies per se, but I like the way Halloween kind of blankets it so that even I can enjoy being spooked, not scared, spooked, and get involved with the images of Casper the Friendly Ghost, or any number of wonderful, not scary but spooky kind of movies. Beetlejuice was one of those. Is one of those. A great film. I watch it over and over again. It's a wonderful film. It's spooky. Doesn't scare me, but it's spooky. That's one of my examples of that. So enjoy your weekend this weekend. We're streaming here at KUHS and bringing you great things to listen to, whether it's the music and the different licks from jazz to rock to maybe even heavy metal every once in a while. But we've got such an eclectic showcase of music here, and the talk that we have here brings you insights that aren't always mainstream, but they will definitely make you think and definitely entertain you. So I'm glad to have you with me today. Have a great, wonderful weekend looking at whatever it is that you want to look at, but be aware of where you're at and be healthy. Have a great day today. Take care.